Hello and welcome to Lunchtime Politics on Channels Television. I'm Millicent Walker. On the news this hour, the electoral umpire is meeting election observers in the bid to assess the conduct of the 2019 general elections. INEC to conduct supplementary polls in the states where the exercise was declared inconclusive. The National Assembly is expected to resume 2019 budget debate today after weeks of abandonment due to election activities. And the Taraba State government has relaxed the curfew in Jalingo. It will now be in place from 6 p.m. to 4 a.m. as the government says it is monitoring the security situation. Welcome everyone to the program. We begin first with a developing story just in that emergency and rescue services are battling to extract people trapped under the rubble of a three-story building that has collapsed at Itafaji on Lagos Island. A primary school is reported to be located on the top floor of the building. We hear several occupants, including some of the school children, fear to be trapped under the rubble. The building is said to be a residential facility with several apartments. I'll bring you more details on the incident. Still visuals there of a lot of people at that incident of the collapsed building at Itafaji, a three-story building we hear that collapsed, and emergency and rescue services are battling to extract people there under the rubble. We'll continue to bring you the latest on that story. Let's go over to politics. All appears not over yet as far as the 2019 governorship elections is concerned. Although the uncertainty over the inconclusive elections are over, voters will have to go to the polls again to conclude the process in 5 states. As the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, they fixed a new day to conduct supplementary elections in Adamawa, Bauchi, Benue, Kano, Plateau and Sokoto states. The elections will hold on March the 23rd in all the 6 states where the elections were declared inconclusive and in places where winners were not declared. The electoral umpire has also given reasons for declaring the elections inconclusive, some of them which include the discontinuation of the use of smart card readers midway into the elections or failure to deploy them, overvoting and widespread disruption in many polling units. The Commission says it will publish details of polling units and number of registered voters for the supplementary election on its website on the 13th of March. Well, staying with INEC now, the Commission is assessing the conduct of the 2019 general elections today. The Commission is meeting with accredited observer groups in Abuja for a debriefing session. This exercise is to enable the umpire get feedback from the election observer community on the challenges, some gains, and the lessons of the elections.
And the feedback we got from the state INEC was that you were short of some critical materials for this location. And so we had expected that the elections would take place in this place the following day, but that didn't happen. And then in other places like Ikiti, Kebbi, Ondo, majority of the polling.
Well, let's now join our correspondent Kayla Megwa live to give us an update on the proceedings and the atmosphere there. Hello, Kayla. What are the observers telling the umpire? What's the Commission's response?
Hi, Okay, so today is the debriefing of the election observers for the 2019 general elections in Nigeria. We had 120 domestic observers in Nigeria and 36 foreign observers, all in the bid to make sure that the electoral process is in line with international best practices. We actually have one of those observers here with us, Mr. Mark Asobi, who is from the Justice, Development and Peace Commission, one of the biggest observer groups in the country, over 3,000 observers deployed across the country for the election. So nice to speak with you this lovely afternoon, sir.
Thank you, Kay. Thank you, my pleasure.
Talk to us a bit about the process. So you were in Abuja, you had over 3,000 observers across the country. What was the situation like?
Well, we actually deployed, JDPC deployed 3,823 domestic observers across the 36 states of the Federation and FCT. And then we had some revolving observers and citizens observers, up to 5,000 also that observed the elections. We are here for the debriefing exercise, even though some elections are still ongoing, some elections are conclusive, some are inconclusive. Well, on a general note, we got feelers from our observations in the different locations in the country of issues associated with late arrival of materials, INEC materials, particularly sensitive materials. We also have some dotted issues of malfunctioning of the card readers, which led to the complete disenfranchisement of many citizens in some places where they are supposed to observe the elections.
I was going to get in there because, you know, I know that there are many issues that come in when it comes to elections. I mean, we are in Nigeria after all, and it's not even just in Nigeria, it's around the world. There are usually issues. But what would you say was one of the biggest problems? Which states, for instance, would you say was one of the biggest problematic areas, and what was the biggest problem for your observer group in this election?
Well, I think largely if you talk about states, you look at some eastern states specifically like rivers, states like Akwa Ibom, where seemingly the elections were largely militarized. You know, these are putting in context. But I think INEC, to a large extent, actually did their best, and then it also has to do with the conduct of the citizens of Nigeria and the political class, and how, you know, people readily went into the context without the perception that they could lose the elections. And so that brought about some degree of desperation, which made INEC not to be able to have grips and very firm control of some logistic problems, in addition to also issues that are associated with training of staff that are supposed to run or manage the elections.
In fact, those are some of the challenges that are being faced, you know, at least from the observers speaking today. They've been talking about logistics issues, talking about the performance of INEC staff, the performance of security personnel, and of course, you know, various problems. What would you say going forward would be the best way to handle these problems?
Well, to a very large extent, Nigerians are clamoring for our elections, you know, having a departure from the traditional ways that we have been conducting elections, to see if our elections could be more improved, to be, you know, technologically driven. You know, that will reduce the extent of vulnerability, risks that is associated with movement of sensitive and non-sensitive materials and human beings, and to a large extent even issues that are associated with life lost. You know, so if our elections are driven beyond the manual processes of implementing elections, I am sure some of these issues could be addressed. For instance, if people could exercise their franchise just like we withdraw our money from ATM cards using your card alone, I think to a large extent. We may not be able to get it very correctly, but I think issues associated with vulnerability and risks that are associated with our elections would be minimally reduced and controlled.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mark Asobi.
Kayla, thank you for having me.
And you see that's Mr. Mark Asobi there from the Justice, Development and Peace Commission. Of course, the debriefing is still ongoing at this very moment, and they're taking a look at some of the challenges that the observers faced during the elections and ways forward. Professor Antonia, who is heading this particular INEC team at the International Conference Center, says that they're expecting their reports, because the observer groups give reports after the elections. They're expecting those reports as soon as possible, Millicent.
Thank you so much, Kayla Megwa, there live from Abuja with the latest on the meeting between INEC and election observers. Now, these are supporters of the All Progressives Congress, People's Democratic Party, and the All Progressives Grand Alliance from Obowo local government area of Imo State. They stormed the office of INEC in Owerri, the Imo State capital, to protest what they termed alleged irregularities, which they say marred the conduct of the State Assembly election in the area. The protesters maintaining that the result of the election was rigged in favor of the Action Alliance candidate. Similarly, PDP supporters from Imo North Senatorial District have called on INEC to seek clarification while the announcement of the results of the Imo North Senatorial District supplementary election held on Saturday is still being delayed.
Elections have been concluded, and we have won in 5 local government areas of the senatorial zone: Obo, Ihituboma, Isialambano, Onimo, and Okigwe local government area. And from the results we have collected at the various local government collection centers, we are leading with over 12,000 votes. We are really worried that why the election has been delayed. And from the information we have gathered, it does appear that somebody somewhere is trying to change the results.
Well, elections in Delta State was free, fair and credible. This is the assessment of some coalition of observers comprising some domestic observer groups accredited to monitor the 2019 general election in Delta State. Now, the group is urging all contestants to accept the outcome. They addressed a press conference in Asaba, the capital. Now, the coalition, through its chairman, Sadu Danladi, says that there are unanimous reports from the field that the exercise was devoid of any political malpractice to a great extent. Now, Mr. Danladi also admits that hitches did occur in some areas, adding that such hitches were quite insignificant and isolated.
We as domestic observers in Delta State did spread ourselves to all nooks and crannies of the state so as to get an on-the-spot account of all the activities in the different local government areas and senatorial districts. We must commend the orderly manner the election was conducted, and we join several others in commending INEC for a job well done. The NYC ad hoc staffs, the security agencies, including the army, who really performed their duties precisely and accurately in a manner expected of them in a civilized society. This is really credible of them, contrary to the apprehension on ground. It is true that military personnel, most especially soldiers, were very civil in their approach to this very democratic exercise, as they did not in any way interfere with the democratic process.
Or in Delta State, the governor, Mr. Ifeanyi Okowa, has reached out to his opponent in the governorship elections after emerging winner of the last Saturday's exercise. Now, the governor in a state broadcast says it is time to reconcile, forget the things of the past, and contribute our individual quota to the development of the state. Governor Okowa thanked the voters who voted him into office from across the 3 senatorial districts where he won, and he is committed himself to doing more for the people in the renewed mandate that he was given.
Let me also commend the Independent National Electoral Commission and the law enforcement agencies for standing firm and resolute to deliver a free, fair and credible election. This is the pathway to sustainable democracy in Nigeria. I dedicate this victory to you, the good people of Delta State. You are the true winners in this election. You are the true winners for standing firm and unyielding in your support of my administration.
Well, still to come on Lunchtime Politics, we'll be bringing you the views of the electoral umpire on the issues raised in the elections, and also Taraba State government, how far have they relaxed the curfew? Still to come on the program.